Buckle in, this must be a serious vlog. I've got a fancy hat and a shirt on.
Hello and welcome back to my channel. For those who are new around here, my name is Alex. This is the Essex Allotment farm where I grow commercially for my veg box service, for chefs and for some farmers markets. And in this video, I'm going to talk to you a little bit about my story, about how I went from allotmentier to market gardener or vegetable farmer or whatever you want to call me. Maybe by the end of this video, you'll be calling me something a lot worse. But anyway, here's a little bit about my story and how I got into doing what I do now. Let's jump straight into it. To set the scene, I am on 3 acres of farmland, of which only about 3/4 of an acre is currently cultivated. I'm in coming up to my second summer on this piece of land, but my third summer as a vegetable farmer, and we'll go into why that change came about and why year 1 and year 2 and 3 I talk about separately later in the vlog. I sell to about 40 to 60 veg boxes a week, 2 monthly farmers markets, and a couple of select chefs wholesale throughout the summer or spring, summer and autumn season. Whilst I do work for chefs and farmers markets year round, my veg box service is only 26 weeks through the peak part of the growing season. And again, we'll touch on why that is a little bit later in the vlog. I'm here in Chelmsford in Essex, which is a really, really small city. I'm 4 miles just from the city, so I've got a huge catchment area for veg. This area is quite affluent, and again, later in the video, we'll talk about why I felt this project would work here in Chelmsford. So that's a very, 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 very top line overview of what it is that I'm currently doing. I'm going to dive into now a little bit more detail of how I got here and how I made that switch from allotmentiering into farming. Just to finish setting the scene, I thought I'd tell you a little bit about my story. So I worked in a major retailer's setting in their head office for about 14 years. And as part of my time with that major retailer, I was a fruit and veg buyer. I did a lot of different project work that involved me being in stores and out and about visiting different stores. And then towards the end, I was part of a team that redesigned, or initially designed, should I say, the waste redistribution network that you see in supermarkets now, which means that no edible food waste will go into landfill. So as part of all those jobs, I got a little bit of experience in fruit and veg buying, visiting farms, as in monocrop farms, farms that, for example, grow thousands of cabbages, potatoes, carrots, etc., etc. And then I saw the other end of the scale, the quality, did some quality work within the food network, talked a lot around waste, and got to see the whole journey of a carrot start to finish way before I was ever interested in growing. And then towards the end of that year, and definitely as when I was part of the food waste team, I started to grow my own fruit and veg on an allotment, as you well know if you've followed my journey for a long time, because I started to see what was going into food, what chemicals were being used, how much of it was wasted, and thought on that tiny little small scale, I could feed my family or supplement my family's diet and my diet with homegrown vegetables, which meant I didn't have to buy and be part of that whole corporate machine and buy my fruit and vegetables from a supermarket. And of course, I don't begrudge or judge anyone that does buy stuff from a supermarket. Absolutely, they're a great addition to have. We're very lucky to be able to have the selection of fruit and vegetables we do have. But of course, in my transition from the corporate world to growing my own fruit and veg on a commercial scale, I obviously see it more as a negative than I do a positive. At the end of my time with the major retailer, I was very lucky to be offered voluntary redundancy, which, because I was with the company for a long time, meant that it was worth me taking and worth me pursuing a different career. And like I said, by this time I'd been growing my own fruit and vegetables for a good few years and used it as an opportunity to change my lifestyle and my way of life. I had my child on the way, and yeah, I wanted a change of lifestyle and a change of pace of life first up, but at the same time, as I've just alluded to, I'd started to understand fruit and vegetables and the complexities behind it a little bit more. And I'd fallen in love with growing my own food, which I was doing on the allotment. So I took the plunge, and I was very lucky to have the support of my now ex-wife, but wife at the time, and my immediate family around me to take the big leap, and it is a scary leap, into starting my own business, which is what I've got now today. So I suppose my first message and the first sort of takeaway from this video is, I mean, I was a normal guy with, well, relatively normal, but I was a normal guy with a normal job. I had very limited experience in horticulture. I was self-taught. I did some online classes. I started researching the likes of J.M. Fortier, who, if you are familiar with American Canadian style market gardening, is the kind of setup that I've got here. I watch homesteaders like Justin Rhodes, Honey Tree Farm in America, and then I've obviously got taken inspiration from people like Charles Dowding when it comes to growing and the specifics of growing, and watched a hell of a lot of content online, which is why I create content now, to give my experience back to people. But I used that self-teaching to get to where I am today. So my first key message is anyone can do it. Like, if honestly, if I can do it, then anyone can do it, because I have not got a horticulture background. Yes, I've got some tedious links through my previous career to what I do now, but as a general rule, I was a normal guy doing an office 9-to-5 job, and here I am now doing 45, 50, 60 hours a week on my farm, working outside and loving every minute of it. And I suppose that's where I take a lot of my inspiration from. There are a lot of those stories out there, if you look for them. People that gave up the rat race and decided to start their own business. Some people that I've taken inspiration from are not even in the horticulture industry. They've just left the rat race and taken the leap and gone on to do their own thing. And yeah, I take inspiration from that. I think anyone that's done that, that's succeeded in that, or even given it a go, and perhaps not succeeded and realised it's not for them, kudos to anyone that has taken the plunge and given it a go. And that's where I take a lot of my inspiration from. And obviously, if you're familiar with my channel, you can see, and as I alluded to, you can see that that inspiration is leaked on through to my business setup. My market garden is very J.M. Fortier, Curtis Stone, Richard Perkins style, not quite as fancy. It's not quite got the bells and whistles on it that theirs has yet, but if I could be a hybrid of those three people when I feel that I've made it, or I feel that I've become successful in this industry, that would be great. That would be me achieving my goal. So that's a little piece on where I am. We'll get into the nitty-gritty of how it actually came about now in the video, but just to caveat that now, I did a 3 and 5 year business plan, and we're on track to meet year 3, or the 3rd year of the business plan, which means this farm will be self-sufficient and profitable by the end of season 3 on this land. And that was always the aim, that was always the goal, as written in my business plan, and we're on track. So like I said, anyone can do it. If I can do it, anyone can do it. Right, so it's time for a little bit more of the meat on the bones, a little bit more about my story. You can relate this on how you could become a vegetable farmer, or take little nuggets of information out of it. I hope you're taking some information out of this vlog so far. Stick with me. I'm going to ask for questions, or I'll ask now, put any questions in the comments below, and that will give me information to answer in my next vlog that I do in this style, where it's a lot of me talking and giving you a lot of information. I might even just do a vlog where I answer your questions around growing and the farmer's, the market garden, not the farmer's market, market garden. Why can I not distinguish in my mouth between farmer's market and market garden? I pretty much get it wrong every time. Anyway, if you see me looking back here, just vloggy style, I've written some notes for this vlog on the board because I'm a proper serious vlogger now. So yeah, I keep looking over there to refer to them so I know what to talk about next. I suppose my second-ish message or main message from this video is when you take on a project like this, and we'll use my sort of journey from allotment here to commercial grower or small scale commercial grower as an example. You're a business person first and you're a vegetable grower second. So over 50% of my time, especially in the early days, especially in the early stages, is doing all the stuff that I used to do in the corporate world. So I had to find land, which we'll talk about in a minute. I have to set up a business plan. I have to track income, outcome. I can't think off the top of my head, but everything that you need to run a business behind the scenes, I've learned in the last 14 years in the corporate world. And predominantly my time, especially in the early stages, has been as a business person, networking, making connections, all those things, and not a vegetable grower. The vegetable growing is actually, and this is going to bite me in the arse, I know it, is the easier part of this process. And the biggest stumbling block that people have in the early days of trying to achieve this, and from what I've seen, is they look at people like Charles Dowding that puts out a hell of a lot of content around growing vegetables, but he puts out very little content about how much time it takes for him and how much money he makes from all the extra activities and the businessman behind the veg grower. Maybe he's a bad example, but again, JM48 is the other end of this scale. He has maximised what you can get from this kind of commercial farming, and he doesn't do much growing anymore. Like, he really doesn't. So it's a real key message, and one that people forget. If you think that I spend 90% of my time pottering around in a field, doing what I need to do in the field, or prepping veg boxes or delivering, I still have to do all that, but predominantly a lot of my time is on the business aspect of this model. Which brings me to the one question that I get asked over and over and over again is, how do we go about finding land? So I know that's going to come up in the comments below, and I'll just give you an example of how I managed to find land. There are loads of ways to do this, and I appreciate that I was relatively lucky in the speed in which it happened. But I've offered this advice to people that have reached out in the past. And so my piece of land that I'm on, the odd shaped sort of 3 acres that I've got across sort of 2 fields separated by a hedgerow, is part of a massive arable farm. The landlord of my land farms hundreds of acres of land. He contract farms other acres, and I just reached out to, first of all, his daughter, who run a side part of his business, and then made a connection with my landlord and talked to him about what it is that I wanted to achieve and what kind of land I needed, with the view to him pointing me in the right direction. It just so happened that then he came back to me with these 2 sort of odd-shaped pieces of land that he didn't really use, didn't really make any money from, and offered me a fantastic opportunity to take those on a lease via sort of basis, and then let me farm that land and turn it into a vegetable growing patch. So my advice would be, there isn't a right move for small scale farming. There is a right move style thing for agricultural land, but you'll get just hundreds and hundreds of acres of land that's got hundreds of acres, and they'll be trying to sell it you for, you know, thousands and thousands and thousands of pounds. And realistically, on small commercial growing, renting your land initially isn't a bad way to go, because it isn't such a financial leap. The way to do it, and the way I've seen other people successfully do it, and why I adopted that is to just go and network with farmers. Every farmer out there, whether they're animal farmers, arable farmers, milk and dairy farmers, whatever it is that they do, they've got odd shaped pieces of land that they own that they don't use, that are just sitting there, with as grassland or meadow or whatever it is, they're quite often prepared to lend you or rent to you or even sell you in the best case scenario. Second thing that people forget and or don't consider is that who are you going to sell to? That is a huge question. And again, I say this with the utmost respect to what I'm trying to do. Growing the vegetables, or growing a lot of vegetables, is relatively easy in comparison to finding people to sell those vegetables to. And this is where the businessman or the businesswoman or business person comes in behind you. I can grow a field full of vegetables. A lot of people have the capability to grow a field full of vegetables, but who are you going to sell that vegetables to? At what price are you going to be able to sell those vegetables to that person? And is that a viable business model? And the way it works in small scale farming, and why I focus on veg boxes and farmers markets, is because on small scale agriculture, wholesale isn't commercially or financially viable. Selling to chefs in bulk, selling to not supermarkets, but small shops at wholesale prices is not commercially viable on this scale. But having a relationship with your end consumers through farmers markets and veg box services, and being able to charge what you would expect to pay in your area for organic, sustainable and locally grown vegetables, and having that relationship, membership and story behind it, is what makes this commercially viable. So gaining those relationships with customers, relationships with the local community, advertising through social media, through traditional ways of advertising, almost becomes more important than the veg growing itself in the early stages. And if you've got no one to sell your vegetables to at the right price, then this model won't work. What I did in that instance was, and was a real key part of my business, starting my business, was have a trial year. So on a smaller piece of land, and this is why I talk about my business plan and my business as 1 year trial, and then this is the second season on this new piece of land, or coming up to the second season on this new piece of land. And that's because for the first season I just trialed 20 veg boxes a week for 26 weeks. I could comfortably grow that amount of veg on the piece of land I had at the time, and went out there and found and researched and lived how hard it was to find 20 veg box members a week for 26 weeks. So when you're charging 15, between 15 and 19 pounds a veg box, that's a huge financial commitment for your customers, especially if they're signing up for the whole season. They're paying upwards of £300 for that season. So realising and living how hard and how much emphasis needs to go on marketing and that business side, and finding the customers to sell to, was a huge learning in that 1 year trial season that I did back 2 seasons ago. And I've found, and again, light bulb moment, golden nugget moment for you.
Hey, partner, we've struck gold. Great new golden nugget.
I found that farmers markets are by far and away the best thing to achieve that. You can go and showcase your vegetables on and make a bit of cash at a monthly farmers market, and as long as it's in an area where you're prepared to deliver your veg box service to, you meet the right kind of people that are interested in quality, sustainable, organic fruit and vegetables, and people that are prepared to part with maybe a little bit more than you would pay in a supermarket to get those vegetables and have them as part of your diet. You can sell your story, sell your journey, and showcase your vegetables better at a farmer's market than anywhere else, and even better than on social media, because there's that one-on-one connection with your end consumer. You can showcase what it is that you do, and by far and away my veg box sign-ups have come, or the majority of my veg box sign-ups have come from farmers markets and being out there and meeting people. I touched a little bit on the trial year there, but yeah, that was a great learning for me. That was a great year. I'm still learning loads and loads and loads now on this new piece of land. Of course I am. But that first year, not overcommitting, only committing to 20 veg boxes, really helped me understand whether this was commercially viable, whether it was scalable, whether it was worth me going out there and finding a bigger piece of land to scale this up in the future. And here I am in the future, and like I said, I feel like it's successful and where it needs to be in conjunction to my 3 and 5 year business plan. So what are my plans for the future? Well, like I said, I've only cultivated a third of an acre. I've got the potential to have or use a lot more space as per the agreement that I've got with my landlord. I've still got lots to do on the third of an acre that I've got cultivated right now, but I'm only coming up to season 2. I want to have this land as a CSA, which is a community supported agriculture. I want to be an active part of the local community. I've already started the process to be that. I have volunteer mornings. I have plans to have open mornings this season for people to come and have a look at what it is that I do. But mainly, and this takes me right back to the beginning of this vlog, I want or experience what it was like to have fresh, locally grown organic produce grown by myself on an allotment. And my main key objective is to give more people in and around the local area access to that quality, nutrient and quality and nutrient dense vegetables like I did from growing an allotment, but without the hassle of having your own allotment, or for people that haven't got time to have their own allotment. So that's my vision. I want to have a veg box service and deliver to farmers markets and support or offer this service on a local level for years and years to come. I want these kind of small-scale agricultural farms to start popping up in cities all across the UK. They're out there already. We don't shout about them enough. We don't talk about them enough. We don't support them enough as a generalisation. But they're out there, but realistically in 20, 30, 40 years time, I'd love to have had a small, tiny impact on our wider food system within the UK and really be the cheerleader and maybe even inspirational for these type of small-scale agriculture farms done in the right way to pop up all around the country and go back to serving our local communities with locally produced vegetables. And so over the next 3 to 5 years, that's what I'll be trying to achieve on this land. So I've got roughly a third of an acre cultivated. I've got this field is just below an acre, including the pond area. So the first port of call will be to move left or south in the field and extend with some beds and blocks into this green area here. And if you were familiar with my or watch my last vlog, you'll have seen that I alluded to the first time that I've got some options to use some of the land for more infrastructure and polytunnels and workshops and stuff behind the hedge in there. And when I buy a fancy drone, I'll be able to show you that all aerially. So yeah, they are my plans for the future and what it is I'm looking to achieve in the long term and the immediate. For this season, it will be absolutely making the most of this area here, and then towards the winter or towards the end of summer, autumn and winter, we'll see some work on the infrastructure at the other side of the hedge and perhaps some expansion into this field here. But like I said, this is only season 2 and I need to master this area here first. And I'd like to be doing maybe 100, 150, 200 veg boxes in the future. Obviously by that point I'll have to start employing people. You can't do that all on your own, but like I said, from a business point of view, I feel that is achievable, not only achievable but also could be profitable in the long-term future. So yeah, they are my plans. That's how I see my role in the community and my role on this farm moving forward. I'll continue to learn, I'll continue to try new things, I'll continue to share my journey, and hopefully in a post-COVID world I'll be able to meet a lot more of the people that are interested and invite a lot more of the people that are interested to the farm to see it live itself. So like I alluded to earlier in the video, pop some questions in the comments below. Anything you want to know, anything you want to know more information on. I will do a video on either answering your questions or I'll do a video on just specifically answering your questions, or part of my vlogs will be answering your questions and giving you the direct answers to what it is that you want to know. I hope you've found me waffling for however long this vlog is enjoyable, and you've taken some of those nuggets and light bulb moments away, and you can put that into your growing, into what it is that you want to achieve, or you just enjoyed learning a little bit about my story. Thanks for joining me. Share, give it the likes, give it the thumbs up. It really helps more people find my content. Not only supports me, but supports people that want to try and do this kind of thing in the future. Thanks for watching. Bye bye.